They try it. Cold and flu season, 12 hours. It's cold in Los Angeles. Everybody's sick. Joy Taylor, me, Colin Cowherd. I got to go to. Joy's got a great story in Herdline News. Joy had her best Herdline News an hour ago. There's a ton of pressure on Joy Taylor.
I feel strongly about hour two.
It was magnificent. You could not do better. And from that point forward, we're just judging her all based on the first hour. That'll come up. I want to go on the phone right now to a great young broadcaster, played in the NBA for 13 years, disagrees with me a lot, I don't think on everything, Antonio Daniels. He's the Oklahoma City Thunder analyst on Fox Sports Oklahoma. I covered him in Portland, and he's a very good analyst, and he's joining me on the phone. All right, let me start. Before I get into the triple-double stuff that wears me out, let me just start with this. It does discourage me. I think Paul George is the MVP of the league. I think he's changed the culture there. He's playing so good, Antonio, that Westbrook, I think, understands he should be taking the shots late. He plays on both ends of the floor. He's averaging close to 40 a game in February. So let me just start there before I start bashing. I think Paul George is now so good that Westbrook understands, hey, I'm the second best player right now on this team. Do you believe that?
Well, to me, it's not about Russell understanding that he's the second best player on the team. It's about Russell understanding and sacrificing what's best for this team. And what's best for this team is Paul George doing exactly what he's doing now. Like, the thing about players is as you mature, you grow. The longer that you play in this league, you grow. And Russell has learned. He's learned. He's seen what Paul George is doing, but Russell was still getting an opportunity to be himself, but also understanding, you know what, for this team to be as good as we can possibly be, I need Paul George to be Paul George. I need Paul George to give us 29, 8, 4, and 2.5 steals a game. And I agree with you. Right now, Paul George is definitely the MVP of the league. You can make an argument for James Harden. You can make an argument for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I watched Paul George go head-to-head with both of those guys and outplay them both on a national stage. He is a two-way player, and right now, because of his availability, he's the best two-way player in the league.
I completely agree with that. Kawhi Leonard, I would say, is better if they go night to night, but Kawhi's not as available. And frankly, I like Paul George's personality. It's a little more even keel for me. Now let me shift to the bad guy, Colin, which is after the game last night, Paul George admitted that Westbrook came up to him and said, hey, you can get a triple-double if you get one more of these. And Paul George didn't even know, it wasn't paying attention to it, that Westbrook, as his shooting has dramatically declined, even at the free throw line, that he is becoming, to end that talking point for the media, he is now too concerned about triple-doubles. Paul George has no idea he's got one. Westbrook comes up and reminds him, is it at least fair to acknowledge that Westbrook's a small guy that can't shoot, and he seems more concerned with triple-doubles than he's ever been concerned with them?
No, for me, Russ is a guy that's more concerned with winning than anything else. Here's the thing, Colin. When I came on with you this summer, your narrative was Russ is a bad teammate, and he's hard to play with. But now, Paul George is having a career year. Jeremy Grant's having a career year. Terrence Ferguson is having a career year. And Steven Adams is having a career year. And Dennis Schroeder has blended in seamlessly. So now that argument has lost steam. So now we have to shift to something else. And here's my thing. If you told me when I played in the league, if there was something that I did for any particular team that I played for that allowed my team to win 78% of the time, I would do it. Since 2016 and 17, Russ has triple-doubled 90 times. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 70-20 in those 90 triple-doubles. You can't argue that. Regardless if he knows it or he doesn't know it, it translates to wins. And that's the most important thing.
What about James Harden staying in blowouts to get 30? They don't pull him out of games until he hits a meaningless three to get 30. Doesn't it bother you? Golden State one time has gone for a record, and they got it, 73 wins. They were gassed a month later. Injuries, gassed. Harden now is staying and playing in blowouts to set records. It seems to me he's too consumed with the MVP. Is that a fair criticism?
Is he too consumed with MVP or too consumed with keeping his team afloat so they can win? Because here's the thing, like, we put players now in a situation where they can't win no matter what. Because if James Harden was averaging 20 points a game and not going on this scoring streak that he's gone on of 30 consecutive 30 points, you know what we would say? If they're in 15th place, James Harden's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing what he needs to do right now to keep Houston relevant and in the playoff race. The same way Russell Westbrook is doing what he needs to do to have Oklahoma City a game out of second place and allowing Paul George to be Paul George. See, this is what we don't talk about with Russell Westbrook. We don't talk about the things that don't show up on the stat sheets. The fact that when Paul George is going, that he's the first one over there high-fiving Paul George. Russell Westbrook this year in the second half has taken 3 shots at one point, 2 shots at one point, and it's not just for Paul George. Because now he understands for this team to get where they need to go, you need Dennis Schroeder. You need Jeremy Grant. You need Paul George. And this year, more than any other year, I have watched Russell Westbrook lead and sacrifice his game for what's best for this team, and that's wins.
I hope he continues to do it once the playoffs hit, because the playoffs can change players. We know that. Some players rise,
That's true.
Some shrink, some rise, some get less selfish, some more selfish. Finally, Magic Johnson tampering. Now, I have a rule in life, and it's one of those things. Certain people have personalities. Manny Ramirez in baseball. Manny's being Manny. John Daly in golf, smokes in a course. John's just being John. Could I not defend Magic Johnson and say, Magic Johnson's not tampering. He's a big personality. He loves the game. He's a businessman. This is just Magic being Magic. It's like Charles Barkley saying something that gets everybody worked up. That's just Charles being Charles. Simon Cowell can be mean. That's just Simon Cowell being Simon Cowell. Are we overreacting to Magic Johnson's comments about other players?
No, you're not overreacting because of the title that Magic Johnson holds. If Magic Johnson didn't hold the title that he holds with the Los Angeles Lakers, I get your beef. I get your point. But the moment that you sign on with the Los Angeles Lakers and now you have that tag attached to you, now you're held to a different standard. Regardless as to how big your personality is, and everybody knows Magic Johnson has a big personality. He's a fantastic guy, big smile, excellent communicator. But when you add that tag to your title with the Los Angeles Lakers, now you have to sacrifice something else. You can't continue to be that same guy. The only way you can is if you say, all right, you know what? I want to continue to communicate with players. I want to continue to work players out. Now, you have a decision to make because you can't do that along with keeping that title. So you either drop the title and adhere to the rules or ignore the rules and move on.
Antonio Daniels. I like when you even yell at me. Even when you scream and yell at me.
I'm never going to yell at you. I just can't see how you don't grasp the Russell Westbrook dynamic. Well, I'm not saying he's flawless by no stretch of the imagination, but the amount that you badger him is uncalled for, and you know it, Colin. You know what? Maybe you could use some of your leverage. We could have dinner together with Russell, and we could clear this thing up. I would be willing to do it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Russ would probably reject that offer. But that's just me talking here.
All right. Good talking to you, bud.
Appreciate you, brother.
Antonio Daniels. I'm always willing to, and everybody's welcome on the couch. Everybody.
No, you do not shy away from people coming on the couch.
No. Here's what I do. I have strong opinions. And then I always let people come on and bash me for my opinions.
Just point out that they disagree.
Yeah, like Antonio Daniels is my takeaway is we got a point guard shooting 64% from the free throw line who's telling Paul George, I can get you triple-double. I can get you triple-double. Who gives a rip? Win games.
That's not great, but they are winning games.
They are. Listen, this is a good organization. They've been good for 8 years. They won a bunch of games here.
So all the stats that he is contributing are not helping them win the games?
Marginal, tenuous. All right, Joy Taylor with hopefully powerful Herdline News. No.